Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions. So, what got you really excited to draw?
Well, being able to give my own interpretation of different things that I've seen throughout the life, whether it be just a building or a person or animals or whatever it may be, just being able to represent it in the way that I see it, that kind of gets me, a little bit more excited as far as being able to show the world what I see through my eyes, through my pencil or my pen. So,
What is the best part of making these comics?
the best part to me is being able to create, being able to bring on a whole new life to a drawing by giving it, background, giving it feeling, giving it some type of substance, and knowing that at the end of the creation, I can just sit back and look at it and be like, okay, I like who this character is, I like what this storyline is about. So,
Why do you do this? Do you do it because you get to enjoy seeing the faces of the people that read your comics, or what?
well, there's a couple of reasons why I enjoy doing it. One is because it's self-satisfying. For me, being able to, like I said, create and use that talent that I have from God is very, very important to me because, I feel strongly about if you don't use the talent that you have, then, you end up losing it, you end up losing opportunities, things of that nature. That's the first reason for myself. The second reason is I do enjoy the people being able to read my books, read my content, read the stories that I've created, and being able to go on a broader scale, not just locally, but even beyond that. So,
What do you see happening in the future for this company?
I see a lot. We definitely have some things in order. We want to expand beyond just the local area, take on more artists, more creators, be able to show the world what Byrd is about, be hopefully a very big competitor to the ones that are already out there at some point down the road. Those others being like Marvel and DC and Image Comics, things of that nature. So we want to be able to take this as far as we can and even beyond anything that we've ever dreamed.
Well, let's get. You want to start reading a portion of the book? So we have a long time on our hands. So, want to start reading?
Sure, I'll read a small portion of the book, and I'll give you the setup of it. This is pitting two of the characters together right now, and they are on their way to rendezvous with other characters in the book, but at the same time they have to split off because of a certain situation that has occurred, and it kind of threw all the plans off. This book and characters and the story is based in Louisville, Kentucky. The city is called the city of Derby, so pretty much that's where they're currently at right now. So I could read from that if you want. Let's go ahead and start.
That works.
Okay. All right. So,
Introduce the book.
I'm sorry.
Title. Book title.
Oh, the book title? Yeah,
Yeah,
this is,
book title.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is from Black Angel issue number 2 from Byrd Comics. I'm the creator, art and story, and I also have my business partner. She's the digital colorist. Her name is Michaela Byrd. So this is coming from that book, okay?
Okay.
All right. So at 900 hours, we encountered a thing that appeared to be female, but assumptions are premature until precise confirmation. What was the damage? It took out our convoy and the remaining few resistance that accompanied us. All that's left, besides 2 of us, are Captain Sparks, Broadway, and your fiancé Kotso. This throws us off by 2 hours from our rendezvous point back at Moy Center. Man, that means you'll need to split off and prepare for the rest of us to meet you really are there safely, right? Roger that. We have to continue to make sure that we're not outside by nightfall, or else those things will try to track us down. And given our current situation, I need to make sure you and your others have the quick transition entering the center. Have you heard anything from Reed? Negative. We lost contact with her and Alpha Squad after our current situation took place topside. I'll keep trying. You'll meet the others just outside those doors. It's the only way in or out. It is imperative that you do not allow the UG lab to be compromised. Roger that. I will rendezvous with you and the others at Moy Center at 1900 hours, and be safe. So, with that part is pretty much, like I stated, 2 of the characters are actually preparing for what's to come given the situation that has occurred, where there's an entity or a thing that is outside with the others, and they are pretty much occupied with that situation at the moment. So it's those two's job to make sure that the plans still go as accordingly as planned, but they just have to make some alterations along the way, where it should be a full group going there at one time. Now it's going to be one going to prepare, the center in order for them to come in, and the other to help them get rid of whatever this entity is, and then end up rendezvousing with that one individual. So it's kind of like there'll be 2 split off stories from that segment, where one has to deal with getting there to the center and preparing it for the others, where the others have to deal with this entity to, fight off before they can actually start rendezvousing with that other. So.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick little commercial break. I'm good.
Okay. I can tell, yeah, that's good. Doing good, by the way. All right.
Thanks, man.
They can hear me. I need this.
Just talk up more.
Just talk up more.
Yeah, talk out more.
Can't get into it like this right here. This is
Hey, Spence. Go check the speaker there. You hear the music video? The music's better now. Somebody changed the set again. Somebody changed the set. Come here, push it. What I'm talking about.
Keep getting shot.
Right here. For the mics and stuff to go out correctly. This right here is supposed to say somebody has it on the turn.
Somebody had it on internal mic. That's why even so the daggone computer mic was playing through that. That's why the sound wasn't good.
Right.
It wasn't playing the sound from the mixer.
That's why I was talking about
What's wrong with changed?
I don't know. I don't know who did that. All right, you ready?
I ain't moving. It's moving. I got that. My bad.
Am I using the wrong one? Okay, apparently I am. Like, why?
let me see if I can find another spot. Yeah, you can continue asking questions. We can pick up a conversation from there. Kind of go from there. So yeah.
Welcome back, my fellow readers. Once again, I'm your host, Mr. Anime. I am here with Mikkel Green. So, Mikkel, what was it like growing up where you were?
Growing up where I was a little different. I grew up in what we call the projects. you know, the apartment building, some people call it, but it was kind of the projects back in the 80s up into the 90s. And it was a rough neighborhood. So being able to utilize my artistic skills and drawings and things like that kind of took me away from all of what's going on the outside as much as I possibly could anyway. So I didn't grow up really around, you know, things that influenced me as much as I would like them to with art and, you know, being able to create characters and things of that nature. But the little bit that I did have, I made sure to utilize it as much as I could. Like anywhere from like cartoons from television. Back in the day, we used to watch things like The Simpsons and what else? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in the 80s, the first ones, things like that. Yeah.
That's a good show. That's
So,
a good show.
yeah, those kind of cartoons, even before that, Tom and Jerry, things of that nature, older stuff we used to watch back in the day, Bugs Bunny and all that. So those things kind of influenced me, and they helped me kind of along the way when it came to like creating and trying to figure out how I want characters to look like. But even beyond that, being able to have teachers in place at the elementary school that I went to that encouraged, you know, the drawing and things like that, but tried to focus it more towards things that could matter or get more of a public eye, like, you know, competitions that we may be doing locally for the schools or things like that, or even putting it out there as far as like doing like little local art shows or even art shows during, you know, school time. So things that help me to be able to put it out there more towards the public instead of just keeping it to myself, you know. So
well, since your second half isn't here, what do you think she would see in this company that actually she would be so proud of?
Consistency. I think that she would definitely like the fact that we are continuing after a while. Now, one thing you got to understand about artists, us as artists, we, you know, tend to not focus so much on one aspect of art. You know, we end up trying to venture out into other things. Our minds are always ever thinking about things, always trying to move here, always trying to move there. What can we do with our art now? How can we draw this? How can we paint that? So we all go through it, and at some point in time during our communication and our partnership with Byrd Comics, that happened to where she wanted to kind of work on more of other things outside of Byrd Comics, and she eventually came back, of course. And then as artists, we have to respect other artists' mindset and thoughts and ideas on that, because that's how we grow. You know, we can't hold anybody back from that. We have to make sure that, you know, we support each other throughout that whole growth process when it comes to art as well as any other thing that anybody does. There should be people there that actually support you in what you love to do, especially if they're in that, and keep an open mind. So that's pretty much how we do it. You know?
How did this company actually come to be?
Well, it started off first initially as a small tattoo design. I was working at a place on Preston Highway, which is no longer there, and it was a call center. And so in between calls and things like that, I would just sit down and I would just doodle, draw. And it got to a point to where I started designing tattoos. So there was one situation where there's a young lady, which she's still friends with me to this day, and she wanted me to design a tattoo for her, but she wanted it to be of her, but with like fairy wings. So she wanted to be a fairy. So I said, okay. So I did that for her. When it completed, she said, Mikhail, you should do like a Black Angel, you know, art show or something like that, because you were really dope with the tattoo designs. I said, I never thought about that. So I ran with it, and then I started doing art shows, like actual visual art, paintings, things of that nature throughout the city of Louisville. I've had 4 so far, and it incorporated multiple other artists to come through and also show their artworks, and it was called the Black Angel Art.